I don't think he was talking about the peaceful ones. I mean, I think
he said a complete shutdown of Muslims coming this country. A complete shutdown.
We don't know who's coming into this country. I think that's his point he's making.
Donald J. Trump is calling
Christian
for a
Littlecrown.
total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United
I mean,
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims
that's part of the witch hunt.
entering the
You
United
just
States until our
you
country's
nitpicking every
representatives
freaking little thing he does.
figure out what the hell is going on.
You know what I mean?
Or nitpicking him though. Every little thing.
How am I nitpicking? I literally gave you a quote of him saying this, dude. I can't do it.
But you know,
Yeah, Desi, thank you so much for the $5 on Cash App. Thank you so much.
Has always included radicalism. You know, the radical idea. I mean, he's always said that. So he should have said that in almost in every statement, because you're gonna keep nitpicking him if he doesn't.
Dude,
Even though you know
he said
where his position is.
Scott, he said a complete shutdown, and you're still denying it. Do you want me to play the?
I'm not denying anything. He did not say radical Islam. He needed to say that.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims.
Total and complete shutdown.
I hear it. I totally get it. He did not say what he needed to say. You know his position on it, and he didn't fortify that position at that time. He just talked and generalized and made it Muslims of all sorts.
Which does not permit us to have an incompetent administration.
Have you seen his new commercial he made tonight?
The opposite, believe me.
Believe me.
Google that one. Google that one. His new one that he did like 3 hours ago.
What's up?
He made a taping 3 hours ago.
He made a what?
He did a recording, in front of the camera, stating a bunch of stuff tonight.
And what did he say?
It's new. It's new, and it's quite revealing. He looks beat. I mean, through the whole thing, he looks beat down, like he's tired.
So why do you want to vote for Sleepy Donald? Why do you want to vote for Sleepy Donald?
Well, because I admire the fact that he's getting through this stuff. I mean, that says a lot. And that means something. He has a vision.
Sleepy Don. We're going to vote for Sleepy Don, even though he's a proven sexual abuser, a proven fraudster. He's been lying about the election for the past few years. He wanted a Muslim ban, right? He quite literally referred to a majority of people who were coming from Mexico, right, as bad people, right? And you don't consider him racist.
No, I don't think he is. I mean, he's not. I think he could be bigoted. You don't think
referring to a majority of Mexican immigrants coming across the country as bad people is a racist statement?
Well, now that's something that he put cartels into that sentence. Did he not?
So wait, so say that again?
When he's talking about the rapists and all that, he's talking about the gangs. He's talking about the cartels. He's not talking about every, average Mexican citizen. He's talking about the people who are bad down there.
He was talking about people who were coming across the border.
Right, and that's the bad. It's not
so everyone coming across the border, right? They're bad people.
I think it's the bad. I mean, who else wants to, make money and traffic and do all the stuff that the cartels need to do in order to get their drugs into this country, get their human traffickers going. I mean, all that stuff is happening, and that's what's bad. And it's something that needs to be addressed and really, really taken care of, because it's going to bite us. I really do believe that there's been more than just, South America or Mexican. I mean, it's been all over the world. You have Chinese nationals, you have India, you have all these other countries, you have the Middle East, people that are coming in. It's everywhere. You have South Africa. You have
Yeah, he was
African
referring to Mexican immigrants.
Huh?
He was referring to Mexican immigrants.
He was referring to the cartels. You know that.
No, he wasn't. Do you want me to bring up the quote?
Yeah, I mean, because you know what? You're going to see that there's more to the sentence. There's more to his actions on it. He's not talking about honest, law-abiding Mexican citizens. Of course, he's not talking about that.
Here, I'll pull it up right now for you.
Okay. And we can both dissect it because you're going to see it's not about the honest, everyday Mexican citizen.
Bringing those problems with us. They're not sending you a friend, believe me. When do we beat Mexico at the border? They're laughing at us, at our stupidity. And now they're beating us economically. They are not our friend, believe me. And these are the best and the finest. When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us.
Right. Do you think that's a true
Bringing
statement?
drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people. But I speak to border guards.
What does some mean?
Well, he started off by saying,
No,
it's
Scott,
not you,
can you tell me what some means?
Some just means some. I mean, it's a small number.
Is some referring to a minority of individuals?
I don't think so. I mean, I think he just.
So some is not referring to a minority of individuals.
I don't think the crime-ridden cartel people are minority right now. I think they are a majority that's coming through that border.
No. Oh, okay. So you think a majority of people who are coming across the border are cartel members? Scott, can you give me any source on that?
No, I'm talking out my
And are you
ass.
saying cartel members are less likely to commit crime than natural-born U.S. citizens?
Yeah.
Because undocumented migrants and documented migrants are multiple times less likely to commit violent crime.
I think the cartel members are a different breed. I mean, they're writing their own rules.
So
You know,
are they
they're-
engaging in less crime? So then
I
a
think
majority
they're
of
organized.
immigrants coming across the country are not cartel members.
I don't think immigrants are.
And again, some does relate to Corey. I appreciate the $5. Thank you so much. Some does relate to a minority of individuals. So that statement that you made, some I assume are good people, is literally assuming most people coming across the border who are Mexican, right, are bad people. That's a crazy statement. If you don't think that's a crazy statement, I don't know what else to tell you.
No, you're putting words into my. I'm not saying that most come. You know, I said right before this that he's not referring to the honest, everyday immigrant that wants to
Appreciate the
become a
insights. Thank you so
natural
much.
citizen. Those people want to do good when they come over here. So when you're talking naturalized
So
citizens,
do undocumented
course.
immigrants.
I mean, real immigrants that naturalize don't want to ruin this country. Okay,
Neither do undocumented immigrants.
law abiding. We're not talking about those. We're talking about the illegal ones that try to get here carting their stuff to make money.
So again, right, they're less likely to commit crime than natural-born U.S. citizens. I don't know why you're continuing this false narrative that they're
How
bringing
are
in
you
crime, that
saying
they're rapists,
they're
that they're criminals,
less
and that most are
likely?
bad people. I think you're actually perpetuating the exact very problem that I'm here arguing against.
How can you say they're less likely? That doesn't even make sense.
PNAS.org did a study on this specifically, right? There's a research article on this that demonstrates specifically that they are less likely to commit crime comparative to natural-born U.S. citizens. Right, look at comparing crime rates between undocumented immigrants, legal immigrants, and native-born U.S. citizens in Texas.
So you're saying
PNAS.org,
illegal
that is
migrants are less likely
to commit crime. Appreciate the head mustache. Thank you so much. Legal migrants and
I
undocumented
can't believe
immigrants.
that. I just wouldn't
You can't
believe
believe
that.
that?
Their
I'll
whole
show you the graph
philosophy
right
is
now.
Mayhem. Their whole philosophy is to cause mayhem and break laws.
Not true at all. Not true. Completely false.
You don't think the cartels? That's what their aim and goal is isn't?
This is most people who are coming across who are undocumented are not cartels.
There's a good majority that are though. And no,
You're
I
saying a
can't-
good
I
majority,
can't-
and you have no evidence of that.
We have crime that's happening, like
Yeah.
the Ecuadorians,
Yeah, you have
or the kids in South America that attacked the New York cops.
yeah, and again, that's still less likely to happen than from natural born U.S. citizens.
But it's not less likely; it's happening.
It is less likely. I'll show you. I'll show you
But
right now.
that whole thing just might be null and void because it is happening.
These are felony crime rates. Right here, it's loading. Give me one sec. These are felony crime rates right here. The one on the bottom, is undocumented immigrants. The red one is legal immigrants, and then the top one is U.S. Natural born U.S. citizen.
Interesting.
Literally multiple times lower.
That's interesting. I mean, that's a that's a
And these are
stat
for
that
felony
there had to be a
violent crime.
controlled situation, a different outcome. I mean, they did something to the test or something to get those kinds of numbers. I mean,
They did something to the test. No, they looked at what do you mean? So you're saying that they're falsifying information?
I'm just saying that they're looking at a particular set group of people. They're breaking it down even more.
That's funny how the same trend exists for property crime, the same trend exists for drug crime rates, the same trend exists for traffic crime rates, the same trend exists on multiple different faculties, multiple different facets. And this isn't a reputable institution. PNAS.org is not just some bullshit institution.
So then are you seeing America's bringing this stuff in?
Americans are committing
like
more
just
crime.
America in general.
Undocumented migrants and documented migrants are lowering the crime rate in the United States by coming here.
So where are all these drugs coming from?
Okay, well, which drug are you talking about? Are you talking about the F drug? Again, you can't
got
say the
fentanyl,
specific.
you got meth,
Scott, you can't say the specific terms. You're going to get age restricted.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so the F drug,
Yep.
we're gonna say F prug.
Yep.
Angel, I appreciate the subscription. Thank you so much. That one, right, is coming from China, right? Manufacturing from China. Okay. If you want to limit these particular types of hard substances, the way that you can do that is by legalizing and decriminalizing drug usage, like they've done in Portugal, in which had some of the highest overdose addiction rates and usage rates in Europe. Now they have some of the lowest. So adopt
Portugal
actual
implemented
policies
a different
that give
plan,
people
though.
actual ways that they can get help in legitimate manners.
Portugal's model is absolutely brilliant. Okay, they've coined a brilliant model to where these people have gotten clean and actually changed and stayed clean. So I've already learned about that model, and that's something that we haven't incorporated. And I can't tell you the gist of it, but what it's based on is replacing the drug addiction with something. Not a drug; it's an action of some sort. And they've done it successfully. It's an amazing thing. I saw the video on it, and that's a little bit different than just what we're trying to do. I mean, we're going about it wrong. I mean, it just seems like the stuff comes in all on all levels, and we're not stopping it at all. So, are we behind it?
Yeah, we're behind because we've been perpetuating the drug war, which again Trump is continuing. Angel, I appreciate the $5 on Venmo. Thank you so much. He quite literally has called for he's called for the death penalty for drug dealers. Katie, thank you for the $15 on Venmo. Can we get a W, Katie, in the comment section?
So he's
so
very
much, Katie. I
firm
appreciate it.
on the drug war.
What'd you say?
He's very firm on the drug war.
Yeah, he's going to continue it.
And is that a good thing?
That's a bad thing.
How so? He's
Because he's not doing what Portugal's done, and he's continuing what the U.S. has already done, and actually enforcing it to a greater extent, which again is not seen as a deterrence. The death penalty is not a deterrence for crime. Not only is the death penalty not a deterrence for crime, but it is also something in which includes 4% of people who are on death row dying who are innocent.
Maybe someone could suggest what Portugal's doing to Trump. I mean, it just takes.
Clearly, that's probably happened.
You don't know. You don't know. I mean, it's just that system started probably 4 or 5 years ago, so it's still very new, in its design. But it's working. It's absolutely it's almost like a 90% success rate. As far as people staying and really staying off of whatever.
I don't know if it's 90%, but I have to check back.
It's
but sure.
it's pretty high.
Sure. Like, again, the whole point we're referencing here is we're trying to minimize harm to people as it relates to prug usage, right? And a way in which we can do that is by ending the drug war. Not only would ending the drug war help with this, but it would also limit cartels with their market power over prug usage, because that can lead to lacing, right? Which 45,000 Americans die every single year due to their prugs being laced with fentanyl.
Phew, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So like this is an American issue that can absolutely be solved by limiting the drug war. Jamie, thank you for the $15 on Venmo. W Jamie in the comments section.
Why haven't the administrations in the past and the current administration focus on a solution rather than just talk about stuff?
Because the two-party system does not hold them accountable to actually do that.
I'm going to say
the lack of accountability as it relates to the two-party system. So what we need to do is we need to vote. We need to stop saying that because I feel disenfranchised by the system, my vote doesn't matter. I can't be heard. Because you know what happens at the end of the day? Old people vote. Right? And are old people cognizant of these particular things? And I'm not saying old people in general. I'm saying people who are senior citizens, right? Are senior citizens cognizant of all the issues that are impacting younger America? No. If they're not, how can we actually think that they're going to represent us? And when they don't represent us and we feel disenfranchised, why do we then blame the fact that, voting doesn't matter? Because us not voting in the first place is exactly what made sure that we didn't get hurt. So this isn't necessarily a fault of senior citizens. It's a fault of younger Americans not exercising their right to vote.
They just
that's a fundamental issue because senior citizens aren't doing anything wrong. They're just going out and voting. They're the biggest voting bloc. And that's why Biden, that's why Trump will never go against them, because they reliably vote every fucking time. Every time.
Yeah.
And does my generation? Hell, does even your generation?
Well, I think it's going to be different this time because people, the younger generation is not seeing too much hope in the workforce. They're really literally just
that's what means that they need to vote even more. Voting is that much more important because of the conditions for my generation.
Right.
Because we can't afford houses, because we can't afford childcare, because we can't afford healthcare.
Exactly.
That's why we need to vote.
Oh, there's going to be a big turnout. I think this is going to be the biggest turnout. This is already polarizing. And people are really
people are losing their incentive, right? Because Trump's not currently in office right now, people have lost their incentive to go out and vote. And that could possibly lead towards individuals like Trump winning, right? So my generation needs to go out and needs to vote.
I think they will, Parker. I think...
I hope so. I really do. That's why I do these lives all the time.
It's in their face, as far as just the hardships that they're going through right now and they know where it's coming from now. They know the political structure has been tarnished. They know people are broken. And I think being armed with the facts that the deep state is an influence. Those people are real, man. And we can't pinpoint them. We can't do any. We can only we can re-elect, or not re-elect. We can elect a new cabinet. We can elect a new House. We can elect a new Senate. In
order for us to actually fully elect all these people, we have to make sure that we have ranked choice voting or preferential voting. If we don't have that, how do we actually have legitimate third parties that can hold the Democratic and the Republican Party accountable? Because fundamentally right now, third parties can't hold them accountable because of our two-party structure. Because if it is the case that I vote for Jill Stein, right, my vote doesn't go to my second preference. Right, that's an issue with American politics. That's an issue with our accountability, and that yields greater levels of corruption.
Why don't they make like the party of Lincoln? I think that would be
because a third party isn't legitimate, because you can't actually have that in the United States without preferential voting. Preferential voting is necessary. Why aren't more politicians advocating for this? One person in the chat, if you disagree with preferential voting, type 1. If you disagree with preferential voting, type 1 in the chat.
I'm not seeing them. I don't know
there's going to be a few.
Preferential.
There's a few.
Okay, there you go.
Very minimal amount, though, right?
Right. So preferential voting, I mean, that's almost done on a computer-based model, right? I mean, it's like almost
No,
like
not necessarily, right? You can do it. You can do it on paper. But anyways, mail-in voting is on paper most of the time.
Do you
So,
think
like,
voter ID is a bad idea?
we should make voter ID free then.
Yeah, absolutely. It should be free and it should be digital. I mean, it should be
Scott, if you
encrypted.
think about it this way, it's essentially a poll tax. Okay, and poll taxes, historically speaking, have been considered racist in the court of law. Why? Because they have disproportionately impacted people who are black based upon particular funding
Demographics.
mechanisms. Right? Because people who are black have been historically disadvantaged due to systemic racism, due to redlining, due to past acts of racism, the lack of integration, right? Plenty of things that have destroyed black wealth. Tulsa, the burning of Tulsa, Black Wall Street.
You know, in many ways, I mean, compensating
Bill's
Black
Mafia,
America
thank you for the galaxy. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I appreciate
would
it.
probably
Appreciate
be
it.
a good idea, wouldn't it? Compensating Black America for the
Like reparations?
crimes that have been done.
Yeah, I'm actually for reparations.
I think reparations
I think
are
reparations are best done through investment programs, right? But not the investment programs that we've currently done. I don't think we've done anywhere near enough.
I would
And
get
not only
behind
would
that.
that extend to people who are black in America, that would extend to indigenous Americans as well.
I would totally get behind that because I mean
And I mean, we can extend that for even further. But again, investment programs are the best way to sustain wealth within communities. You can't just give money to people and expect the money to continue
Right,
on. You have to
right.
engage investment programs
You
that are
devalue the
allowed to
dollar.
sustain that growth.
Yeah, you devalue the dollar too along the way, and you
Not
you don't want to do
necessarily.
that.
I mean, giving people money doesn't necessarily devalue the dollar, right?
It doesn't make it's not a good
It can. Giving people money can be a good thing. I mean, like we give people money as it relates to SNAP programs, as it relates to the context of housing programs, of
So who could we write to put in the bid for subsidizing voter ID across the board for everyone?
I mean, I think that could be bipartisan.
I mean, it's probably going to be one of the most important things that we could do to ensure accountability and
No. To ensure accountability, preferential voting is significantly more impactful because preferential voting would get us to be able to grant so many different things because we can actually hold the politicians accountable.
Oh, see, that's probably why they don't want to.
What percentage of people would vote third party if there was preferential voting? They might win. You know what I mean? Like in this
Right.
election, we have some of the worst candidates we've ever seen
So it seemed to open it up. I mean,
in the modern history. What's up?
So who do we write? We write this. Who do we write this to? I mean, we can make this happen. We really could. Get on board, get some signatures. We could put it in and make it valid. I mean, and make it a thing, a movement. Because when it's all said and done, we have states here, states there, states everywhere that have these different ideas of what happened during the election. That shit is just convoluting this whole message. If we can lock down and narrow it down to what can make it truthful and not dishonest, I think the American people would buy that in a heartbeat because they are tired.
They do right now.
Huh?
What they do right now, they just feel disenfranchised and they don't vote.
Yeah, see that you don't want people to not vote. You want people to have a voice because when you have a voice,
It's not just voting; it's also getting involved and voting for
Right.
for things that can actually affect you. Being an informed voter,
We
because
have so much power.
just voting isn't enough. Being an informed voter is enough because informed voters hold people accountable. Uninformed voters produce conspiracy. They produce like Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? You know what I mean? That's what uninformed voters cause.
Totally. I mean, I absolutely agree with that. I mean, I just if there's a way to get it to where people can feel good about what they're doing and not, second guess or just have these doubts of the system, I think it would be a grand slam. I mean, it would knock it out of the park. People would go for it if it was written right, if it was done right, if facilitated right, to where it is subsidized by, whatever economy. I mean, each state has their own economy. So, I mean, however a state can do that. But the federal would, I mean, hey, the $90 billion that we were going to send over to Ukraine. I mean, that's a good
The hundreds of billions of dollars we send to people who are millionaires.
Right. I mean, there's got to be a way to make this happen. But, you already said it. You already touched home. It's just, the politicians would not like that because that would not favor their position of power, of money, of greed. Because I think most of them are corrupt. At this point, most of them are corrupt. We can agree on that. Senators and it doesn't matter what party. They're all taking it. I mean, it has to be
Here,
there.
let me address the person in chat. By the way, Nick, of course I have people who are muting in chat, right? They mute slurs, they mute spam. If you're not spamming and you're not engaging in the usage of slurs, I wouldn't be scared of getting banned in my chat. But yeah, you can continue.
I mean, it's pretty. It's just the next logical step to take. We've got a very polarized election coming, one way or the other. It's gonna be a brouhaha, but I think the loser will feel better if the system they knew wasn't rigged at all, and it was actual. I mean, I think you could take that a lot better than having cast doubts on whatever someone's saying in this state and that state on how they counted the votes. I mean, that's ridiculous. It needs to be digital. It needs to be encrypted.
Wait,
it
Scott.
Needs to be,
This was the most secure election in recorded history. If you don't dispute the results of 2016, why would you dispute them in 2020?
We're prim. It may have been, but it still ended up, casting doubt. And we can't have that. We really cannot live that way. It's going to defeat the whole purpose of why we're voting for people. If we can't feel safe that our vote counts, then you're right. People aren't going to vote. And then you're going to get the people that, and then conspiracy theories, all the stuff that you'd mentioned, Parker.
Again, most secure election in recorded history. We have conspiracy theorists because he's lying to you, saying everything's fake, right? That disagrees with him because he doesn't want to be held accountable.
He's
the one reducing accountability. He's the one confusing people.
It's
Trump lied
looking
to
like
you.
that, but I beg to
Crown, thank
differ.
you.
It's looking like that, but I beg to differ. I think there's a lot that has not come out.
How as a Christian do you judge people? By their fruits, right?
I guess. I mean,
Who has worse fruits, Trump or Biden?
Biden. He's dipped into the deep
Scott,
state.
really, man? Are you really serious, man?
He's been a politician for 50 freaking years.
Yeah, and Trump has been held liable for essay for defamation. He's a proven fraudster, right? He's been lying about the election for the past few years, right? He called for a Muslim ban, right? He quite literally refers to a majority of people who are coming over from the border who are Mexican, right, as bad people, as he said. Some I assume are good people, some are referring to a minority of individuals, right? He didn't apologize for saying that the Central Park Five should have received the death penalty when they were exonerated.
Trump's got flaws.
Yeah, and
He's got flaws.
Can you name some of the flaws of Biden, please?
Biden's, I mean, he's been outspoken. He's been kind of creepy over the course of the years. I mean, as far as like when women are concerned, I mean, he's made some weird statements that are on record as being kind of pedophile,
Can you name a
like
statement?
that. Oh, what was he doing? It was in a restaurant. He was visiting someone for something, and he made a statement, that was kind of looked upon as like, why would you say that?
What was the statement?
Oh man,
So you can't even come up with one thing.
I
off the top of your head.
I can't bring the exact statement up. No, but you know what I'm talking about.
Is there anything you can bring up? You said he's kind of creepy. Is there any specific you can bring up?
That's just my own opinion of him. I think
Any specific you
what
can bring up?
can bring up is his track record in.
Any specific you can bring up?
I don't like his stance on. I mean, he's made remarks about the black people.
Black people, yeah. You shouldn't use the term with the S